Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Dark Art Society podcast. I'm your host, Chet Czar, and today we have no guest. I'm the guest. I haven't done a podcast, I think, in 3 weeks. I'm not even sure. But I've been going like crazy finishing paintings for my show, and I just did not have time because I was doing, well, I'll save that to where I get into it, because I want to talk about today. I just wanted to go through the show and show you what I've been up to and talk about the paintings I've been working on. Kind of a shorter podcast, but I felt bad not doing it for this would be 4 weeks, I think. I'm so used to doing it like just about every week. So anyway, I'll get into that. But let me get the other stuff out of the way. If you want to support the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/darkartsociety, join for as little as $1 a month. If you join at the $5 and above level, you get a 20% coupon code for Skull Shop, SkullShoppe.com, and you'll see some of these paintings that I'll be showing you. I use Skull Shop skulls exclusively. Let's see what else. And you if you join at the $1 and above level, you get your name read on the podcast. And this week we have Chris Fields. Thank you. Jonah Simmons, who's a student of mine, really cool guy, great sculptor. I think I read these last time. And Dan Mile, I think, is new. So thanks, you guys, for joining, supporting the podcast. That's it as far as the stuff I need to say. Anyway, I'll get into it. So, yeah, I have been painting for my solo show. It's called Life and Death. It's at Copro Gallery. Opens Saturday, October 12th, which is this coming Saturday. And it's free if anyone's local and wants to go. It's going to be a great show. There's also 3 other solo shows happening with Dos Diablos, Stephanie Inagaki, and Emma Black. And so it's going to be 4 really good shows at Copro. So we'll all be there. And yeah, it's been brutal. I like I said, I think it's been 3 weeks. 3 weeks I haven't done the podcast. You might know better than me. My mind's a blur. I was doing pretty much up until 3 a.m. every night, just doing these long days, 12-hour days. Then they turned into 16-hour days. And then the last couple days I did a 26 or 28-hour day. It was insane. And then the last one I did, putting the frame corners on, Saturday night was, I don't know, 20 hours or something. I stayed up all night. It was crazy. Not fun at all. But I'm happy with the corners, the way they came out. I've got pictures I'll show you on the little slide presentation. And yeah, so I made a little slideshow. I'm going to put that up, and then I'm just going to talk about each painting and the process of creating the show. Okay, here we are at the slideshow. For those of you who are listening to the audio podcast, this might not be a very good show, but the paintings are on the Copro Gallery website. So just go to coprogallery.com and then click on the link, Chet Czar Life and Death web preview, and you can see all the paintings I'm talking about. I'll name them so that you'll know which one I'm talking about if you so desire. So the first thing I'll say about the show is I'm dedicating it to Dan Colonna. If you haven't heard, Dan passed away. He's been on the podcast a couple times. He's a great artist, really great guy who had brain cancer, survived longer than anybody thought he would. I think he made it 11 years. he passed away right at the tail end of me finishing this show, so I thought I would dedicate the show to him. So I'm gonna have a little spot on a wall with one of his paintings and a little write up on him, just a tribute. The show is called Life and Death, and originally it was Life and Death, but Gary at Copro kept referring to it in text as Life and Death, the and sign, and I kind of like the way that looked visually a little bit better. So I went with that. And the way it started out was I was thinking about doing all of these skull flower paintings. And those paintings, upon, thinking about it and hearing other people's interpretations of those paintings, is that they are literally about life and death. And I think that's why they're so strong. And so I thought, that'd be a cool name for a show. And, what's more important than life and death? And, but Gary wanted me to do some, of my usual creature stuff, which, of course I'm always down for. So I kind of did some skull flower paintings, and I did some of my classic style monster portraits. And I just tried to keep things in the realm of life and death, really, loosely. It's a loose theme. So that was the basic concept for the show. And so now I'll show you the paintings. Here we go. So this one's called Sunset. This is the biggest piece from the show. Yeah, it's the biggest piece. It's 30 by 40 inches. All these paintings are on ACM panel, the aluminum composite material that I've been using lately. And really happy with the way this one came out. It's different than any other painting from the show in the sense that it's all orange. And I mentioned this on my Patreon. If you want to join my Patreon, it's patreon.com/ChetZar. It's a different Patreon. I have been talking about the show and showing progress the whole way through. But most you'll see as I cycle through the paintings, most of them are kind of like blues and cool colors. But this one painting, I just really like this idea of like a setting sun that's a skull. And so I was worried about it sticking out. And what I ended up doing to sort of incorporate it into the show a little bit better is I added some orange into the other paintings, just subtly in the background, just to kind of connect it. And also it gave me the idea that, the show is all like, it's about, death more than life and death. But this kind of represents like the sun setting, the sun going down and going into nighttime, going into the death realms, sort of. And the other paintings are kind of dusky and nighttime. So I see that this is the biggest painting. It's kind of like the centerpiece painting of the sun setting. And then the other paintings kind of grow out of that, and they're all kind of at night. So that was kind of my thinking. People might not notice that, but it's important for me to feel like the show makes sense, and that kind of makes sense to me. Now, the inspiration for this piece is from the Dawn of the Dead movie poster, which is a movie I grew up with, the 1978 version, of course. One of my formative films. It's a really great film. If you haven't seen it, it's classic. Great low budget, but kind of an amazing movie that you couldn't really even do today because they use a real mall in it. And especially for the budget they did it with, George Romero film, classic zombie film. Anyway, I grew up with this movie poster, and so it's ingrained in my mind. This is a zombie, actually, from the film, one of the notable zombies. Anyway, that was kind of my reference. I've done another painting where it was literally a painted version realistic version of this movie poster, but that's the basic concept I sort of ripped off from the Dawn of the Dead poster, but it's not it's not trying to hide it, and I think it's definitely an homage, tribute, and I feel like it's different too. So starts with that. This is a 16 by 20 painting, and the title is a question mark. It's just the question mark symbol. It's a study I did, I don't know, last year maybe, and it's just I just love the way it kind of has the shape of a question mark, and that's death is the big question mark because nobody knows what's going to happen when you die. And you can see I've sort of incorporated over here the oranges and stuff to try and incorporate that from the sunset painting. And yeah, so that's 16 by 20. This one's still available as of this recording. This one, Sunset, is also still available. This one's called Masked Man, and you can't really see it as much in this photo, but I did incorporate some of those oranges in the background that show up better in real life, plus this orange here. And it's a mysterious masked stranger, a very deathly stranger, pulling his mask off to reveal his true face. Gas mask theme. This is the one I struggled with the most for some reason. Every show has a problem child painting, and this was it. I'm not sure why. I think maybe I didn't have the study worked out enough, the values and the colors and stuff worked out, but I finally got it and it all clicked. But adding I didn't have the orange eyes and the glowing crossbones on the mask before, and I added those in. That really kind of set the whole thing off. Another thing I want to mention too. Yeah, it's like a lot of times it's these little details like this that really kind of activate a painting. If you can imagine it without these, it just felt like it was missing something. And that was the same with, I want to go back to the sunset painting. That was another thing. I got the whole thing finished basically, and I just was feeling like it needed something. There was one other element, and so I thought, I'll put my 5 in that I put it on the foreheads of some of my creatures, which if you don't know, that's the my spiritual number. If you want the bigger story, you can watch my documentary Chet Like to Paint Monsters, which is on Tubi for free. Anyway, that was a lot of times there's these little special things that happen at the end that really make a painting work. This one is 24 by 30. This is also still available. Corpse Flower. Now, this is a weird one. I think this is the weirdest painting in the show. And it is, it's I forget the scientific name, but it's called a corpse flower because it blooms once a year, I believe, and it smells like death. They're these huge flowers. They're big, like giant prehistoric looking flowers. And when they open, they smell like a dead corpse or decaying corpse. And people kept telling me when I was doing these skull flower paintings, you should do a corpse flower painting. I heard it from a number of different people since I was doing the flower skull thing. And so I was thinking, that'd be good for this show, the Life and Death show. And so I was researching pictures of corpse flowers on the internet, and one of them, the stalk in the center, obviously it doesn't have arms growing out of it, but it is this shape. It's got like this stalk in the center of this weird shape, and it's kind of like this weird color. It's a little more yellow than this, I think. But there was one picture, and the stalk looked like a pair of legs coming up, and I thought, oh my God, that's so creepy. That'd be kind of a cool painting. So I started messing with it in Photoshop, and it was so weird. And it just felt like, maybe arms would be better. Um, and then I was like, yeah, arms, praying hands. That was way better than legs. And it just made the whole concept work. It's like these praying hands. And just put it in this kind of stormy background. And strangely, I thought when I was designing this painting, I was like, oh, this will be the weird one that nobody will like except me. And everybody loves it. It's a very popular one. It's sold, pre-sold right away. And yeah, so you never can tell. You just never can tell. And this one is 24 by 30 inches also. This one also sold. This one's called Apparition. It's 20. What is it? I forget the size of it. It's like 30 by. I don't remember. 20. I don't know. It's around. It's in the 24 by 30 range, but I think it's like. Oh, I know. It's 20 by 30. That's it. And this is based on a study I did. I painted way when I was first. I was trying to get this show painted like a year ago because I should have, I should have a year to paint all this. I got 13 paintings for this show, and a year would have been a very comfortable pace to do it. Unfortunately, what happens every year is I have to, because I always have to kind of keep earning money every month, that I keep putting it off. I'm putting it off because I'm trying to pay my bills and stuff. And then I just wait, and it's like, gets to the point where this show took me 2.5 months, which is insane to paint all these paintings because a lot of them are larger than I normally do. So it was a really crazy pace. It was just not fun. But anyway, this was just when I was totally coming up with ideas, I kind of was messing with paint and doing just splattery, drippy stuff, and I picked out this strange shape, and it just kind of developed from there. And it really, to me, expresses decay and death in a weird way, and kind of like the scary feelings that we have about it. It's it's not well defined. It's strange. You're not sure. That looks kind of like a red eye, but you're not sure. And is that even a head? Is that like an arm or a hand? And it really captures the kind of fear of death, and in a way, and the process of decay. And again, you can see in the background, I've got those oranges I brought in, which really, I didn't have those before I made that decision to try and incorporate, make the paintings more cohesive by adding the orange from the sunset painting. And it ended up just totally making this painting work. So, okay. Next we have Dominator, which is almost as big as Sunset. It's 40 by 27 by 40. Since I cut my own panels this time, I'm so used to working in standard sizes from back when I used to just order my panels pre-cut, and there's just standard sizes like 24 by 36 and 24 by 30. And I just got used to formatting everything that way. But when I did this study, I was like, I'm cutting them myself so they can be any size. It's not like I'm getting standard frames. Anyway, this was this is kind of a demon of sorts. It's called Dominator, and it's all caps. Don't ask me why. It just felt like right. Dominator. And to me, it's sort of, there's all kinds of fear of death feelings about this. Almost like a Grim Reaper, but sort of like the personification of the fear of the Grim Reaper, or like a demon that represents death. It's kind of like I don't know, it's dark. It's hard to see it. It's nondescript. It's kind of got these bat wings, and then you've got this dystopia feeling background of smokestacks in the back. But yeah, I really like this one. And this one is also still available as of the recording of this. Okay. Now we have Lady Death, which is 24 by 36. And this one is also available still. I did, I should have included some close-ups, but if you want to see the close-ups, you can come to the show. But yeah, this was a painting. I don't know how I came up with this. I just was screwing around, and I wanted to incorporate a flower. Well, that's the thing. It didn't have the rose at first, and because I've been on this flower kick, later in the process, I stuck that on, and I was like, oh, that looks good. It's got a similar feeling with the cracked skin on the face. It's that crazing that you see in antique porcelain. I've done this before on a painting called Mother, and I kind of did it a little bit on the Divine Feminine painting, and it's like china that's got what's called crazing, which is these tiny, teeny cracks. And I did a lot of work with lead white. This really, you can paint really thick with lead white, and if you see it in person, there's texture. The cracked edges are lifted, kind of. It's like you can kind of see them three-dimensionally coming off the panel, which is kind of cool. Now, another funny thing about this painting is that the whole time I was painting it, I kept thinking, man, am I ripping someone off? I was asking Steve Clough, am I ripping you off? Because I've accidentally ripped him off a couple times with a color palette from my what show was that? It was the I forgot the name of it, like 2 years ago, two shows ago. It ended up turning into its own kind of palette. He was showing me stuff he was referencing, and it was like fuchsia and cyan, and that's like I started doing that unconsciously, but I was using red and blue, so it wasn't really that much of a ripoff. But I'm very conscious of that sort of thing. I really don't want to rip my friends off or rip my enemies off, for that matter. I want to be original. So anyway, I kept thinking, I've seen this before. I hope I'm not ripping somebody off. And then I realized I was kind of ripping myself off, because it's like a painting I did way back in probably the 90s. I just did it as a gift for my wife. She was really into angels at the time, and so I painted this angel, and it's like a kind of a male, sort of androgynous, but kind of a male figure. And it's kind of creepy. It's got white eyes, which probably makes it look, pretty creepy. And there's sort of a vortex behind him, and he's reaching his hand out to you, the viewer. And so it has the same kind of feeling. So I was like, okay, I can rip myself off. That's not a problem. I don't have an issue with that. And it's sort of like the flip side, the dark side of that idea, in a way. Like the angel was sort of like reaching out to take your hand, to take you to heaven, or take you to cross over to the other side or whatever. And this is kind of like a creepy version, Lady Death, kind of beckoning you and showing you the way, kind of showing you the moon, which I imagine is almost like, that's the white light. That's the tunnel you go through when you die, is straight through that moon. That's just my thought. Like, I like to keep these things vague. It could also be just showing the moon, and the moon represents the unconscious, and in the tarot cards, the moon is like unconscious and really a mysterious card, and it's very kind of weird. So anyway, 24 by 36, still available. I think this one will sell, though. Let's see. Okay, this one is a little more into the skull. Now we're starting to get into the skull flower paintings I did for the show. This one's called Decay, and it was just an idea I had when I started thinking about painting these skull flower paintings. I bought a ton of fake flowers because one thing you never think of is that flowers die, and when you're trying to photograph them and you're waiting a few days, they'll die on you. Or you gotta keep them in water. And I was thinking, if I can just get good fake flowers. I didn't know how good they made fake flowers, and I bought a few samples, and they're great. They're really good. Some aren't, but most of them are really good. Like the sunflowers painting, if you saw that one with the two sunflowers, those were fake sunflowers I used. It's a lot easier when you don't have to worry about the flowers dying. Anyway, I took a skull. This is one. I bought this little bouquet of roses, fake roses, kind of silk or something. Very affordable. They weren't super expensive or anything. And they're maybe a little more purple in real life, a little more bluish. But anyway, it was I just stuck them in the head, and I was thinking, oh, that looks great, like a vase sort of. And my granddaughter held the skull for me, and I took a photo and kind of went off the photo there. And yeah, that one sold. That sold right away. I think that was the first one that sold, maybe. And this one is 24 by 30. This one is available. It's called Pink Skull Flowers. It is 20 by 20, I think. Or is it 24 by 24? I can't remember. Man, I should have written this down. These are real flowers. I think my wife got them for me. That's what happened is we started getting real flowers at first, and I was shooting stuff, and then realized, like, oh, I haven't had time to shoot these, and now they're dying. And so that's when I started getting the fake flowers. But these are real flowers. I'm not sure what kind they are. I just thought it was a cool painting. I used my skull shop. I don't know the model of this skull, but it's a real old aged one. So, and then, there's this one, and same size. I think it's 24 by 24. Both of them are. And then, I painted this one, which was the flowers after they had died. They were, I took the photos, and I just left the flowers in the skull. And then the next day, or I don't know how long it took, I wasn't paying attention, and they had died, or they just wilted. And I thought, oh, that's kind of cool looking. So I took a photo of that, and it's called Dead Pink Skull Flowers. Skull flowers, dead pink skull, or pink skull flowers, dead pink skull flowers. And I really like the way that one came out. Now, this one is from the original photo sessions of the first skull flower painting I did, the one called Skull Flower, which is kind of a head-on with a yellow hibiscus in the right eye socket. And I've told the story a million times, so I kind of don't want to keep telling it, but I'll quickly say it. The way the whole skull flower paintings came about, my wife gave me this flower from a bush outside, hibiscus plant, and just to be nice, she brought it to me, and then I didn't know what to do with it, so I stuck it in. There was a skull sitting on my desk. I stuck it in the eye socket just to hold it until I could figure out what to do with it. And then I thought, oh, that'd make a cool painting. So I took a photo of it. I did the first skull flower painting, and everybody flipped over it. And, it was just total fluke kind of thing. But that's the way I think the best stuff happens that way, when it's just organic. You're not thinking about it. You're not trying too hard. You're just thinking, oh, that'd make a cool painting, and you paint it. So anyway, when I took that photo, I took a few different angles too. And this was one of the angles I took that I ended up going with the front on one. But I liked these. There was a couple 3/4 angle ones too. And I also threw some, I saw that they have some that have kind of orange in the center, these hibiscus flowers. So I thought, oh, I'll just kind of add something in there, just to make it look a little different and add some more color into it. And this is a smaller one. It's 11 by 14, still available. It's called Growth. Now, I love the title because, you know, a normal person is going to say, oh, it's growth. It represents growth. It shows life coming from death. But it also has that double meaning where it's like a growth, like some kind of growth coming out, a tumor or something. And it's like, you could read it that way too. But anyway, I like it. I like it. I'm happy with it. I'm happy with all these paintings. And this one is another Skull Shop skull. It's called Askew. I really, really enjoy these working from photo reference. I know they're a little bit different from my monster paintings, but it's because it's a different process. I'm going from a photo, but since I've done everything out of my head, had to make everything up, for the most part with my paintings for the last 20 years, it's kind of like a nice break to have some photo reference because you can just refer to the photo and just make it look like the photo. And I love it. I love the details. I love matching the colors and just super fun for me. So this was, again, I had my skull sitting, the jaw was loose, it was sitting at, and the skull was kind of like at a weird angle because it wasn't connected. And I thought, oh, that's weird and cool looking. So I'm going to take a photo of that. And ended up painting it 11 by 14 askew. And this is the last one, is another 11 by 14. It's called Anomaly. And again, this was an organic moment. The skull, you know, my studio's messy. The skull was just sitting on a pile of whatever books. And then I had, and the jaw was disconnected and it was sitting there. And when I first looked at it, I was like, oh, that if you squint at it, it looks like a weird mutated skull of some, like the Elephant Man skull or something. It's like these, this almost looks like an eye socket here. And, you know, this could look like another eye socket. And this maybe is a nose socket. And it just looked like freaky. And so it's like, yeah, that would make a really cool painting. And so that's really, you know, the what makes this painting special to me is that at first glance, it doesn't look like what it is until you look a little, you know, a little deeper, and then you can see it's a skull on its side. And I just think it's just, you know, I thought it was super cool. And I guess you could say it's, you know, representing the what's the word I'm looking for? The kind of illusion of death, you know, sort of optical illusion that makes it weirder than it actually is, scarier and creepier than it actually is. So those are the paintings. I also did these frame corners, which I'll show you. This ended up taking me, I spent like, I must have spent 16 hours straight putting these on. It was, you know, it seems like a not a big deal when you think, oh, I'm going to add these corners on and there's 13 paintings. And it's like, okay, 13 times 4 is 52. So that means I have to sculpt this thing. I sculpted it. I tried to do it in one day. And it took me 2 days because it just wasn't clicking. I was first going to have over here with the these like leaves. It's, you know, the idea is a flower, skull, flower, obviously. There's these leaves kind of coming off the side. And originally I was going to have spider webs, like stylized spider webs coming off here. But it just didn't look good. I just couldn't get it to look good. So I went with leaves, and that looks much better. This is the new frame I'm using this year, because the one I was using all the time, they stopped making it. Plus, it's good to change things up, not have all the same frames. And it's kind of got this distressed look, but it's actually two frames put together. And it's got, I like frames that look like classic, what I imagine a classic black casket would look like an old, nice casket. I know that sounds weird, but that's the feeling I like from my frames, and this kind of has that feeling a bit to me. So anyway, yeah, sculpted this in 2 days. It's like, I don't know, 2 inches across, 2 or 3 inches across. Oh, that was the other thing, is I put it in the flour, and I kind of sort of jokingly made the upside down pentagram. I thought that was kind of funny. I mean, people think this stuff's evil anyway. Might as well just have fun with it. And I kind of went with a pewter look, kind of like, so they look like pewter corners that are added to the frame. It's urethane resin, like I normally do my frame corners. And you could see this big shot of the sunset. Yeah, sunset. I was gonna name it Sundown. For some reason, I couldn't decide on sunset and sundown. And then I realized my last show I had a painting called Sundown, so I named it Sunset. So anyway, that's the way the framing looks on all these paintings. I also have a bunch of studies too. I did a bunch of 8x10 studies. So I think there's 6 8x10 studies available, and an 11x14 study of sunset. All right, that's sold. That's sold. So yeah, you can go to the Copro website, coprogallery.com, and check out the preview. It's got prices and everything. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. I just wanted to go over the show with you, because I think it came out, it was pretty successful artistically. We'll see how it does sales wise. It'd be nice. I mean, we've sold a handful so far, pre-sold, which is good. I think the paintings are really good, and I'm really happy with them. And I don't know. I hope you can, if you're local, if you could make it out to the show Saturday, starting at 6 p.m. I'm gonna try and have some little freebies to hand out to people as long as they last. I won't tell you what it is. You'll have to guess. And I guess that's it. It's a short episode. I just wanted to give you something, because I thought something is better than nothing. And I didn't feel right not doing a show again this week. So I'm going to end it there. Yeah, thanks for checking it out, and hope to see you at the show on Saturday, Copro Gallery, Saturday, October 12th, 2024. And if not, I hope to see you on the next podcast. I'll try and get something together for next Monday. Although, I don't know if I'm going to. I've been so wiped out. It's been insane. I've been so tired. But I'm going to try to. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening.